Do video games have a half-life? The shelf life for a video game is a rainbow every video game maker has been chasing since the birth of the very first video game console. They want to know why we stop playing their games, at what points, and for what reason. If they can find out those unknowns, they can sell more video games. So what affects our fondness for a video game? Can we pinpoint the exact moment diminishing returns kick in and we lose interest organically in our games? Can developers?
Well, better than nothing.
In science, a half-life is defined as the time required for something to reduce to half of its initial value. It describes the decay caused by mostly the lapse of time, but it can also be attributed to the effects of rivalries based off of supply and demand and our environment. All three things that we will be going over today. So why did I stop playing my favorite video game all of a sudden? Where did that magical feeling go, and why? There comes a point where we lose that special feeling, that fondness for a video game, where the charm of it decreases at an increasing rate, causing us to expose ourselves to less and less of it every day going forward. What does that mean for a video game? How many hours, how many days or hours played does it take for us to reach this point? The point of its half-life. Today we will explore fatigue in video games and the triggers that cause us to lose interest in our games. Exposing yourself more and more over time causes you to grow a little less excited every day going forward with a video game. Sure, it seems pretty obvious on the surface. I'll play a game until I get bored of it. But is that really why you're getting bored of your games? Not all the time. Another way to answer this question is to do a critical examination of how developers design video games. When a video game maker designs a game, what's the first thing they think of? Locking the player in. The average attention span for a human being, can you guess it? It's about 6 to 8 seconds, less than a tiny goldfish. Video game developers craft games as attention grabbers to lock us in and get us hooked, knowing this. They understand in order for us to buy their games, they have to grip us right from the get-go. Besides using crafted trailers, they do this by designing the game in what's called ramp-down design. It's the magic of working in reverse. In more ordinary terms, it involves throwing the most stimulating and interesting parts of the game right away at us. Maybe they're not the best parts of the game, but they are the parts that give us the most new mechanics and introduce us to all the systems of the game. It's basically a place where developers show all their cards. They have to, they can't risk us losing interest. This isn't the case for all games, but most of them probably. Developers understand only a fraction of buyers are going to complete the game they create, so why not throw the best, the most densely satisfying parts of the game early on to capture the highest amount of customer interaction? After all, no developer wants to create something amazing and then have only 2% of the player base actually see it. Have you ever played a game that started out amazing with such rich content, only to introduce you to absolutely nothing new for the remainder of the game? That's the point I'm trying to get across. Many people have. It's the practice of dumping everything fun immediately onto the player versus spacing out the progressive elements over time. Many games exhaust their resources early and fail to keep players interested throughout the game. In these cases, fresh gameplay mechanics don't happen midway or deep into the game. All the excitement has already happened. Developers shape games in this way to take advantage of our limited attention span so that we may hold on to games instead of refunding them, or worse, trading them in the used gaming markets where they will make no additional money. And as we play these types of games and we get more exposed to them, our brain gets less and less interested with each passing minutes because nothing new is actually happening, thus a compounding effect occurs and tells us, I'm getting less interested. Our attention spans for our favorite games can also be directly affected by the alarmingly high rate at which new video games come out. If your favorite game was released today and no other games came out until you finished it, would that affect your attachment to the game and your fondness for how you remember it long after you finished it? Knowing that this fantastic piece of art is your only option, it could free you up from having to worry about what else you're missing. Definitely. In 2018, there will likely be $30 billion of sales in the video game market. You've got a lot to choose from. Thousands of games released each month. It's a lot of competition and a lot of rivalries. These options can make you reevaluate the game you are currently playing since there is so much to choose from. It can make us rethink how invested we are in a single game and perhaps affect the lifespan of the game that we're currently playing. So if you think about it, the game itself often has little impact on how long you play it. Ever surrounded by a swarm of games to choose from, like being caught up in an avalanche of options tempting you at every corner, you could see how this might affect your fondness for video games. If there were less video games out there, if Steam didn't exist, you would play games longer, regardless if the game was deserving of it or not. But this is not the reality. Every few weeks it seems a huge, exciting game comes out, and often we get backlogged by so many choices. But it goes much deeper than that actually. Consider all the old games that come on sale all the time, which adds an almost limitless amount of potential games in front of us to play, and those games compete with the games we're already playing. Environmental effects and occurrences outside of our control can also have what we like to call the final effect of how we play video games, how long we play them, and how much we enjoy them. Imagine your gaming space for a second, your perfect gaming setup. It's not just that comfy couch, or that empty house on a spring night with the cool air coming in from the windows, or that box of pizza rolls you got coming out of the oven piping hot. It's not just that fresh game you popped in or that fancy new racing wheel you're sporting. It's about your environment. Did your girlfriend break up with you today? Are you moving out of your apartment tomorrow, weighed down with the worry of having to pack up all your shit? Our lives affect us. It's about the effects of our environment. It's why less people play video games when Game of Thrones comes on. People get excited, then it dies down, sometimes life gets in the way. Maybe it's personal, maybe you were just in a funk that day. You dabbled into Dark Souls 3, a game that you would have loved last year, but just because you were singing the blues, you couldn't get into it. Sometimes life gets in the way and we just put our games down sooner than we would have normally had. But the cool thing is, on the contrary, great moments of life extend the longevity of our games. Positive emotional states charge us with a sense of purpose and excitement, and we carry that to pretty much everything we do. The better the emotional state, the more apt we are to extend the length that we interact with anything we do. And that's why games reward us with new guns, new characters, loot boxes that explode on the screen and give us all this cool stuff. It's to make us feel excited so that we keep playing and hold on to that magical feeling. When you think about why the "you win" screen was invented, this is definitely why. But how satisfied we are in games often doesn't depend exclusively on how satisfying the game is or the reward system. It depends on how satisfied we are with life, our day, ourself, as it gives us drive or the objection to play games over the course of a long period of time. Any number of environmental effects can cause us to view games in different ways, which in the end affects how much time we sink into them. So when you combine all three factors, we can often see that it's not just the games themselves that determine how long we play them. It's individual, it's affected by time, competition, and our environment. It is not absolute. So what is the half-life of a video game? There is no half-life. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope your day has been terrific so far and your tomorrow is even better. We'll see all you guys back here for our next video in a few days. Peace, love, and happiness till then.